Going over the 5 most underrated bloodlines in my opinion in Shindo Life Roblox. Now these 5 bloodlines are going to be probably the least talked about as well as the best out of all the bloodlines in Shindo Life currently. But yeah, let's get into it. And coming in at number 5, we have Ashen Storm, alright? So Ashen Storm is good just because it does a lot of damage. However, you know, I'd say compared to these other bloodlines on this list, it's, you know, it is very underrated, and not really talked about much, but, you know, it's not the greatest, alright? Maybe that's why, compared to these other bloodlines. Obviously, it is a decent bloodline, alright? So the first move, you know, we got some solid damage there. You teleport between opponents. The second move are these kind of tigers, you know, 30k damage, I think, roughly, as well as that being obviously an AoE, and then your final move would be this final move here. It's around 45k damage, and then you have a C-Spec, just one mode, I believe. There's not 2 modes, and the C-Spec boosts are actually alright, as well as dealing, you know, 12k damage per hit, which is as much as an Akuma would deal, which is actually really nice. And then obviously your C-Spec, 50k damage, and then if you have one, your Q-Spec, which you don't. But yeah, that's pretty much the Ashen Storm bloodline. In a very, very quick thing. And the reason why I think it's on this list is just, you know, because of the damage, alright? If you look at the damages here, these are actually some solid damages, right? 45k damage, 30k damage, you know, very little hand signs, like I can hit block and, oh wait, if I activate the mode again, you can see that there's not many hand signs, and this bloodline isn't actually that rare, and it deals decent damage, right? 50k damage, and then 12k damage each hit. Like, come on. It's a good bloodline for what it's worth, alright? It is only, I believe, 1 in 100, so really not that rare when you look at some of the rare bloodlines on this list. But yeah, that is pretty much the Ashen Storm bloodline, coming in at number 5 on the top 5 most underrated bloodlines, alright? But let's move on to number 4. 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, so coming in at number 4, we actually have the Dokai bloodline, alright? And the reason why this is number 4 is not because necessarily it's the worst, but because it is not that underrated, alright? People do talk about it sometimes, but it's often, like, overshadowed by the Xeno Dokai. I think the only problem with the Xeno Dokai, though, is it's so rare, right? I've been playing this game pretty much since it came out, and, you know, I just got the Xeno Dokai maybe, like, a month ago or something. And I span a lot, alright? I've spun a lot in this game. I don't have boosted rarity or anything. It is only a 1 in 170, but it just feels rarer than that. But yeah, let's go over the Dokai moveset, alright? So in our first move, which is obviously probably the best move of the bloodline, my favorite move, Dokai style Blood Burst, right? So literally no hand signs, and as you can see, that's a stun, and it really sets you up for some really nice combos, like you can pop that move, and then you can use some other, you know, Pika Senko moves, which are really good. Later on this list, I'll show you. And yeah, I really like using that move. It's really good. No hand signs. You just pop it, and you can combo them up, do whatever you need to do when they're, you know, stuck like that. And our second move is a Genjutsu. Alright, we just pop it like so. Genjutsu's them, and I believe they can't really control their character, so that's nice. Often, I don't really use that though. I usually try and use the first move here. And then the final move, which I believe is the worst move out of this bloodline, are these 2 dragons. They deal around 45k damage. So obviously this bloodline is not a very high damage bloodline. However, it does have some decent moves with little hand signs, right? And if we move on to our C-Spec here, I believe it has 2 modes, maybe 3 modes. The first move, nothing special really. And I believe it only has 2 modes. And the second mode actually looks really nice. It looks really nice with my outfit too. You get these kind of blood tails. When you attack, you deal 6k damage only. And then when your C-Spec is this giant blood bubble that does the same thing as the first move. And then your X-Spec is just this kind of strong attack. But yeah, that's pretty much the Dokai bloodline. And the reason it's number 4, as I said earlier, is solely because it is not that underrated. It is a really nice solid bloodline, and if you don't have Xeno Dokai, it's a really good replacement. Usually you can replace a lot of the moves of Xeno Dokai with this bloodline. But yeah, that's pretty much the Dokai bloodline, coming in at number 4 on these top 5 bloodlines, alright? But let's move on to number 3. Alrighty, so coming in at number 3, we actually have the Pika Senko bloodline, alright? And the reason I like the Pika Senko bloodline is because it does such high damage with such little hand signs. The reason it's not number 1 on this list is because it is, you know, pretty talked about, alright? It's not necessarily underrated, but it is really good. And often it's overlooked by kind of like Shindai Rengoku, you know, some of the newer stuff like Naramaki, which is a little better, I agree, but you know, Pikasenko is really not that rare, right? It's only a 1 in 120, so a little more rare than Ashen Storm, but yeah. And the reason I like it the most is especially because of this third move, right? You teleport above your opponent, and you smack your opponent down with kind of some decent damage. The second move as well is really nice. You kind of teleport above them, you kick them, dealing 36k damage. And I believe they reworked this, actually. They made it look a little nicer. And then finally, you got that second move, or sorry, first move. And then also the C-Spec is decent, like you get this kind of sword. It does unequip any weapon you have equipped currently. When you attack, you use that sword. Obviously, I have my Kenjutsu equipped right now. But you use that sword, and then your X-Spec is kind of this stab that teleports you to them. High damage as well, and then your C-Spec is another super high damage move. So overall, this is just a high damage, very versatile bloodline. Good for, you know, mid-tier combos, as well as kind of finishing off combos slash, you know, maybe starting combos. It's a nice low hand sign, kind of teleporty bloodline. But yeah, that's Pikasenko coming in at number 3 on our top 5 most underrated bloodlines, alright? But let's move to number 2. Alrighty, so coming in at number 2, we have the Mud Variety, or Variety Mud bloodline, alright? So the reason why Variety Mud is actually coming in at number 2 here is because it's not really talked about much, and I love to use this bloodline for combos, right? It's a 1 in 90, so really not that, you know, rare. And its moves are equipable in your V, B, and T slots, or for you guys, whatever slots your element slots are. They're equipable in the element slots, which I believe is a very good bonus when it comes to having a bloodline. Just because, you know, sometimes you fill up those bloodline slots really quickly, and it's really nice to have a bloodline that fits those slots. Moving on to the moves, the first move, kind of bad, not gonna lie, alright? It's just this golem that attacks them, deals decent damage, although it's really just not the best. I'd rather use a companion. Our second move is the best move, alright? It is the Mud style Sunken Quake, alright? And I believe this move has one of the biggest radiuses in the game. So if you pop it like so, if anybody's standing on the ground, they instantly get clapped in that Quake, and they can't move and are dealt slow damage, just like this training log here. And it's really good for starting up combos, or, you know, if someone's trying to escape you, you just pop that. They can't escape. And then your final move is the Dragon Fall, which is also a decent move for, like, finishing combos. Like, you just go like this. Oh, sorry, I missed that. But, you know, if they're within the radius of the move, let me try that again here. If they're within that kind of radius, you actually will hit them, and they'll get kind of stuck for a second, which is nice, as well as this move being able to travel really far. Like, you can travel pretty far with it. But yeah, that is Variety Mud coming in at number 2, I believe. But yeah, let's get on to the number 1 spot. But before we do, just subscribe, like the video, helps a ton. But yeah, let's move to number 1, alright? The number 1 slot in our underrated bloodlines. Okay, so coming in at number 1, we actually have the Sriracha or Sriracha Akuma bloodline, alright? And this bloodline is just so good at number 1, because its moves are 0 hand signs, it's got decent damage moves, and it's great for starting up combos, sitting in the middle of combos, or finishing combos. It's just a great combo bloodline, for good first high-level gameplay, and you know, it's really underrated. I haven't really heard anybody really talking about this. I haven't really seen anybody using this yet, maybe because they don't have it, or maybe because it's just, it actually is pretty rare. But yeah, I managed to snag this right when it came out, right when I was spinning, and I'm really happy I got it, alright? I love using this in PvP. You can equip it. It does have a C-Spec, and I believe it goes to Form 3, unless you have that full Samurai Spirit, which I never really use, to be honest, because it takes up so much mode. But right off the bat, you can see that's a pretty high damage bloodline, alright? That's a lot of damage, coming off of it. I believe that's the same as a regular Akuma, but still, it's good, alright? The first move is a insta pop, I guess, teleport move, just like that. As you can see, high damage, and you can just go straight into the second move, which is this fireball move. And then this third move, I believe, is the auto dodge. Yes, it's the auto dodge. And when you get attacked, you actually fire out these shurikens, which is pretty cool. What makes this bloodline, you know, different is that it actually is an auto pop. So these first 2 moves just pop automatically. There's nothing really stopping you from just using them and spamming them, kind of like this. Just boom. And then obviously the second move has a little longer cooldown, but yeah. And then finally, our C-Spec for our really, really clean looking, what's it called, Samurai Spirit, is our kind of Shuriken throw, 227Ks. Decent move. However, Not the greatest, really. And then our X-Spec is these 2 shurikens again. I believe that sends them to another dimension. Not quite sure, though. And then its stat boosts as well are pretty decent. And yeah, that's the top of our list. That is the top 5 most underrated bloodlines in Shindo Life Roblox. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, just leave a like and subscribe. Helps the channel out a ton. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Have a nice day. Join the Discord server if you want, and I'll see you later. So, bye.